What if everything you thought about a murder was based on the wrong body? In 2016, the body of a black teenager was pulled from the Mississippi River. Within days, police named a suspect. The media ran with the narrative, and a young man was sentenced. But 2 years later, another body surfaced, wearing the same jacket with the same dental records. This wasn't a case closed. It was a case cracked wide open. Behind a rushed autopsy, a broken justice system, and redacted files lies a story of misidentification, or something far worse. Subscribe now and follow the trail of lies, silence, and buried truth. Because if Marcus Glenn didn't die in that river, then who did? And why was no one asking questions? On a fog-chalked morning in April 2016, a fisherman spotted what looked like a body snagged on driftwood along the Mississippi's edge. By the time first responders arrived, the current had shifted it closer to shore. Face down, swollen, unrecognizable. Authorities quickly taped off the area, marking the scene with little more than yellow ribbon and plastic stakes. The coroner arrived in a battered van with no refrigeration unit, unloading a gurney and 2 trash bags. No one questioned the identity at first. They just assumed it was Marcus Glenn, a missing local teen.
Detective Andrea Pike was assigned the case within the hour, already juggling 3 open files. Her notes described the body as male, black,
18
approximately 18, signs of decomposition consistent with 72+ hours submerged. She photographed the scene herself with her personal iPhone, its screen cracked, flash broken. The official cause of death was listed as blunt force trauma with possible drowning, though no full autopsy was ordered. The Glenn family was notified before dental records were even checked. At the hastily assembled press briefing, Sheriff Tolland cited likely gang involvement without citing evidence.
We suspect gang involvement.
Local news ran stock footage of crime tape over headlines that read, "Another youth lost to river violence." Pastor Lee McClendon, a family friend, told cameras Marcus had problems, sure, but he wasn't a gang kid. No reporters asked about timeline gaps or the missing toxicology report. Within 48 hours, the death was ruled closed pending prosecution of a neighborhood rival. 18-year-old Jalen Ford was arrested that Friday after his name appeared in a text exchange from Marcus's old phone. The exchange was 3 weeks old, but prosecutors claimed it suggested motive, a fight over a stolen bike. During interrogation, Jalen denied involvement 37 times before asking for a lawyer. The recording malfunctioned during the final hour. His public defender, overworked and underpaid, filed no motions to contest evidence. By August, Jalen had accepted a plea deal for manslaughter in exchange for a reduced sentence. In the courtroom, Marcus Glenn's mother clutched a folded graduation photo, eyes hollowed by weeks without sleep. The prosecution relied heavily on character framing, Marcus's minor juvenile records, his social media photos, his hoodie. The autopsy report cited trauma consistent with street assault, though photos showed no fresh bruising. The jury deliberated for just under 3 hours. Jalen was sentenced to 12 years in state prison, eligible for parole after 6.
2 years later, in spring 2018, a second body was found during levee repairs, this one clothed in Marcus's missing jacket. Unlike the first body,
This one had dental fixtures that matched Marcus exactly. The remains were skeletal, preserved by cold sediment and hidden by flood debris. The first body, it turned out, had never been properly fingerprinted. Someone had made a mistake or something worse. An anonymous letter was mailed to the State Forensic Board, typed in all caps and unsigned. Check the files. You identified the wrong kid. Someone is lying. The envelope contained a photo, blurry, low-res, of Marcus standing in a store a week after the supposed drowning. The timestamp was off by 2 hours, but the store security footage was intact. Local authorities claimed the image was faked, but forensic consultant Riley Thatcher wasn't so sure.
That's not fake.
Riley had been contracted for a different case, but couldn't ignore the implications of the letter. She pulled the original death certificate, noted the inconsistencies, and requested access to the autopsy report. The digital file had been updated multiple times. The metadata showed alterations after Jalen's plea. The county ME's office refused to release physical samples.
I need to see the physical samples from the Harrison case.
Physical samples? Not available.
Riley filed a formal complaint and received a threatening voicemail the next day.
Stop digging. This isn't your case.
Jalen Ford, now 21, sat in a private prison 2 states away, unaware that the man he was convicted of killing had died after his arrest. His case file contained redacted evidence and missing chain of custody documents. He had written 5 letters to Innocence Projects. None had replied. His cellmate remembered him as quiet, scared, like he'd already given up. When a paralegal intern finally read his file, she flagged it as statistically impossible.
This timeline's impossible. Review immediately.
Meanwhile, the Glenn family held a second funeral, this time for the confirmed remains of Marcus. Only 11 people attended, including Riley, who kept her distance near the back pew. The mother didn't cry this time. She just stared straight ahead, hands folded. She whispered to no one in particular, "He died twice, and no one will be punished." Outside, news vans idled, but none were allowed in. In her basement office, Riley rewatched the 2016 press conference footage, noting every vague statement, every timeline inconsistency. She paused when Sheriff Tolland claimed, "We have clear identification," a phrase never substantiated in the case file. On a legal pad, she drew a timeline of events and highlighted the 72-hour period where Marcus was supposedly missing. Phone records from that window showed his number pinged 4 separate towers, miles from the river. The data was never included in trial evidence. The original body scene photos, now blurry scans, revealed strange omissions. No signs of algae, no debris in the victim's hair. A forensic pathologist Riley contacted noted this body wasn't in water for long, at most 24 hours, not 72. That expert later declined to go on record, citing professional risk. Riley began to suspect the original body had been staged. She dug into the ME logs and found 2 entries missing from that week. She called a former intern from the county morgue, now working in Kansas, who vaguely recalled a body switch rumor. The intern remembered staff being told to label it Marcus, even though some questioned the match. That same week, the forensic lab director retired early, with a severance sealed by NDA. Riley requested the exit file, but received a heavily redacted page showing nothing but dates. In the margins, someone had scribbled, "Not the first time." Sheriff Tolland, when contacted, declined interview, but his receptionist accidentally forwarded Riley a call log. It showed repeated calls from a number registered to Judge Tom Brawley, who presided over Jalen's sentencing. That judge had no jurisdiction over the initial identification process. Riley connected the dots. Either the ID was rushed for convenience or manipulated by legal pressure. The body had become evidence too fast, too clean. Riley visited the Glenn family's former home, now boarded up and tagged with graffiti. Neighbors remembered Marcus as polite, if a little distant, and deeply fearful of the police. One woman recalled seeing him after the date he was declared dead, but didn't want to say nothing back then. Another said she heard a second boy had gone missing around that time, but his name was never made public. It was a story the town had already buried. Jalen's original public defender, a man named Curtis Vance, now worked as a security guard. When contacted, he admitted, "They told me the kid confessed. That's all I had time to check." He said the discovery process had been rushed, evidence disclosed just hours before court. He remembered objecting once and being warned not to slow things down. Now, years later, he carried guilt like a broken rib, quiet but always there.
Guilt's like a cracked rib. You forget it's there until you breathe too deep.
At a legal workshop, Riley shared a redacted version of her findings, testing the waters. A civil rights lawyer pulled her aside and said quietly, "If you publish this, be ready to get sued or worse." Another analyst asked if she'd checked death certificates from other counties. Riley hadn't, not yet, but the idea burrowed into her. That night, Riley opened a statewide database of unidentified remains. She cross-referenced 2015 to 2017 entries with known missing person reports, finding 3 flagged mismatches. 2 had the same medical examiner assigned. All 3 had hasty identifications and records altered after the fact. She realized Marcus Glenn might be part of a pattern, not a fluke. At home, Riley began recording voice memos, documenting each revelation, just in case something happened to her. She saved them to a hidden folder labeled Redacted. Her tone was steady, clinical, but increasingly tense. Each memo ended with the same line: "This case was never about Marcus alone." By the last recording, her voice cracked mid-sentence. The final shot of the episode lingers on the original body, the one pulled from the Mississippi, now stored in a cold case archive, name still unresolved. Its evidence bag has begun to yellow with time. The toe tag reads, "ID unknown, possibly Marcus Glenn, closed." If he wasn't Marcus, who was he, and why was no one looking? Misidentified.